Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Schools here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the most overrated mechanic in all of Siege. Now, this video is going to be a little bit controversial, and not everybody's going to agree with me, but that's okay. Really, the point I'm making here is not that this mechanic is not useful or that you shouldn't learn it. I personally learned these a long time ago, and I think they are very useful, but I think they're a little bit overhyped, and I think people use them in more situations than they should, and they don't really understand why you really should be doing it and why they are useful. And so I'm going to show you a far easier alternative to this mechanic and kind of give you a guide on how to actually use it. Now, I keep referencing this overrated mechanic, but what is it? The mechanic that I'm talking about is quick peeking, otherwise known as Shaiko peeking, bolo peeking. There's lots of different names for essentially doing the same thing, which is quickly sticking your head in an angle and then taking your head out of it. I'm going to show you why being able to Shaiko peek or bolo peek doesn't really matter that much, being able to actually do it. And then I'm going to show you a far easier way to face check an angle. If you stay to the end, I will show you how to fight angles in a different way that is better than quick peeking. Okay, everybody, I'm here on the map of Cafe to show you exactly what I mean when I say bolo peeking and Shaiko peeking are overrated, and what I believe to be an alternative that does the exact same thing as both of those and is much easier to execute. So here's what I mean. When I say Shaiko peek, by the way, I mean like this. You start leaning into the angle, you peek it, and then you lean out quickly, and then of course lean back in so you can peek it again. When I say bolo peeking, I mean something like this, where you lean into the angle and peek it, and then you lean back out. Some people go like lean in, lean out, like that, but I usually just do like this because it's a lot easier for me to do the way I have my hands on the keyboard. But either way, I think a lot of people use this mechanic wrong. And when I say using it wrong, I mean they try to fight tight angles by using these mechanics. So what I mean by that is they'll peek the angle, but they won't just peek it, they'll try to fire shots in there in the middle of their peaks, right? Like that. And I think this is a really terrible way to fight tight angles, because really you're not actually doing anything. Yeah, you're firing one bullet here and there, but this is really predictable, and doing this over and over and over again is just exposing yourself to the same angle in a repeatable and predictable manner that the enemy can just choose not to peek into. And if they do peek into, they'll see the angle that you're shooting at. Like, let's say I keep quick peeking at head level, they'll just peek at crouch level and then just wait for me to peek and shoot me. And I think it's a really ineffective way to get kills on tight angles. And by the way, being able to fit your shots in on the tight angle is hard. Like, being able to put your bullet in the same place every time is hard. I've practiced it a lot, so I can do it, but it is not easy to do. So I think, especially for people that are maybe in the lower ranks that are trying to get better, who are trying to learn this mechanic, I think instead you should practice just strafe peeking, because it does essentially the same thing. It allows you to face check an angle without exposing yourself for too long to get shot. Okay, and there's really no difference in the time that you're in an angle between something like that or like that and just a normal strafe peek. And I also secondarily don't think that anybody should be trying to fight tight angles by fitting their bullets in on every peek. I think a much better way to do it would be to use the Shaiko peek or bolo peek, or like I just said, the lean peek, because again it does the exact same thing, to quickly check if there's someone on the angle. So I come up here, I want to check if someone's on this angle, I check it, and then I do like this. I peek the angle and then sit still and pre-fire. Okay, I think that is a much more efficient way to fight an angle, because first you use this Shaiko peek or this quick peek, and I think this is the main thing that they're useful for, right? You're not trying to fire bullets when you're doing that, you're just trying to check. You expose your head quickly, you bait out a shot. Maybe if they're holding that angle, they see your head, they're going to shoot, right? And then by that time you're already out of the angle because they can't react fast enough. And then you use the information that you just got from this quick peek to peek it at a different height. So like, let's say I checked it standing, I'm now going to peek it crouched, line my crosshair up with where their head was. So like, let's say if they were standing when I checked it, I'm now going to crouch, peek it, line my crosshair up. This is a bad example because this countertop's in the way, but let's just say they were crouched, and then pre-fire. Okay, and that dumps a stream of bullets that has an actually good chance of hitting the opponent's head if they decide to stay on the angle. Now that mechanic does take practice, but I think that is a much more effective way of fighting tight angles than it is to just try to fit single shots in on a tight angle when you're just peeking it over and over again. And yeah, you'll get a lot more kills when fighting tight angles that way. So please stop using the Shiko peek or the Bolo peek to try to shoot one bullet at a time when you're peeking an angle. Learn to just use it to face check. If you haven't learned it at all, maybe learn it at some point, but don't put it on the list of top priorities. Just use the straight up strafe peek going left and right and learn to close swing. That's what I call that, close swinging on the tight angle. Line up your shot and just spray a little bit to try to get the kill. So there you have it. That is why I think Shiko peeking and Bolo peeking are overrated and why I think people use them too much in Siege and what purpose they actually do serve. Again, if you already know how to Shiko peek or Bolo peek, I'm not saying you should never do it. It is useful sometimes, like I said, for face checking. But as far as, you know, learning it goes, you can learn it, but I personally don't think it is as important. It's definitely not something you need to do to be a good player in this game. So it's not definitely my first priority. I would just learn how to, you know, be able to line up common angles, learn what the common angles are, and being able to line them up, peek them, and pre-fire like I showed you there with the close swing, rather than trying to fire one bullet every time you do a Shiko peek. I just don't think that's a very good way to take gunfights. So I hope you learned something from that video. I hope everybody gets better from peeking at this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I read all the comments, and I really love responding to them. So leave me a comment, and I'll give it a heart, and I'll respond to it. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.